Welcome back to my channel. If there's two things in this world that I love most, it is, besides like family, friends, animals, things like that, it is 1, makeup, 2, books. I'm back on YouTube. I'm back making videos. I'm also on TikTok. I also have an Instagram, so I'll link all that stuff down below. I'm hoping to get a few of my TikTok followers and friends to come over to my YouTube channel. On TikTok, I do a lot of books and book reactions. I am so fucking over these cliffhangers from fucking hell! Shut the fuck up. The scene with Archer and Cody. Two wieners, 1 hole. Along with the little check-ins that I do, that I also can start doing YouTube videos where I do what I'm now gonna call book, binge, and beauty blend. And I started with Twilight. You guys can literally go to my channel and you'll be able to see it. I'm just gonna do my makeup while I talk about some of my favorite books. This year I got into a spicier side of books. The girl started dabbling in some of that taboo. She started dabbling in some of that extra spicy. I definitely have grown past Twilight. So your girl's gonna be talking about some hinky books. Like, we're talking some my all-time favorite book of this year. If you followed me from TikTok, you know how much I love this book. This book solidified my love for age gaps. I will ride or die for this book. I will ride or die for this author. Let's get into it, guys. Welcome to Book Binge and Beauty Blend. We're starting off with Praise. By Sara Cate. Also, fun fact about me, I'm gonna side break. I have ADDs. You're gonna watch me be all over the place a lot. This is why I had to sit here and write out notes. I spent 3 hours writing out these notes to make sure that I could stay on talking points and on track, because I'm dedicated. I pronounce names wrong. So fun fact, I read this book months ago, and when I first read this book, I called the ex-boyfriend in this Bayu, because it was B-E-A-U. And I thought like beautiful, like beautiful. No, it's Bo. So if I pronounce names wrong or if I don't get this stuff right, I'm really gonna need y'all to be nice to me. It's just who I am, and I'm terrible at it, and I apologize in advance. The story starts off with Charlie dated a boy named Bo. Not Bayu. Bo and Charlie were together for 15 months to be exact. Bayu was not exactly the most loving, attentive boyfriend ever. He didn't really pay for stuff when they were going out. Had some extracurricular activities that he loved to do with some other women that weren't Charlie. Yeah, he was a cheater. We love a cheater. Charlie caught Bo cheating on her, so they break up. Charlie, because she had to pay for everything, has a job that she had to show up to. She couldn't make it to the final walkthrough of their, I'm gonna assume it's an apartment. So because she couldn't make it to the final walkthrough, they sent the full deposit to the person who co-signed the lease, which happens to be Bo's dad. She confronts Bo and she's like, hey, I want my part of the deposit. Give that back to me. And Bo's like, well, you weren't there for the final walkthrough, so they sent the full deposit to my dad. And she's like, okay, well, can you call your dad and get the deposit back? And he's like, absolutely not. I don't talk to that man. If you would like your part of the deposit, you can hit him up. Charlie pulls up to this bangin' mansion. This fucking man's loaded. She's like, are you fucking kidding me? I scrimped and saved. She's like, I busted my ass and I worked so hard to provide for the both of them. And this man's dad was rolling in the money. But I get it, it's not his money and he didn't really want to spend his dad's money. But he could spend his girlfriend's money. But that's neither here nor there. So she goes up to the door, she knocks on it, and what I assume is Bo's dad's housekeeper answers the door. So she's like, I'm here to see Mr. Grant. And she's like, okay, well, we weren't expecting you. Come on in and just, go to his office. The housekeeper is a little weird. The housekeeper goes, he's coming. If I were you, I would kneel. Any normal person's like, the fuck you mean kneel? Charlie's getting weirded out. So Charlie is getting ready to take off. Well, as soon as she goes to leave, in walks Mr. Grant. And when I tell you that this man is described as tall, bulky, tan, sun-kissed skin, and he's a little bit older, so he has dark hair that has hints of white throughout it. Instantly, just from the way he was described, Daddy Emerson takes one look at Charlotte and he says, you should start on your knees, never be on your feet when I enter a room. Charlotte is so confused. Like, she's like, bro, I am just here to receive my part of the deposit. Oh, I could only imagine. Could you imagine? Could you imagine if you walked into X's dad's house for your piece of the deposit and this man word for word tells you to kneel? But I mean, when you look like that, sweetie, she's kind of just standing there baffled, obviously, as I feel like most would. And he says again, get on your knees. And she's like, why? And he's like, well, you want your money, don't you? And you see, they're talking about two different forms of money. She's talking about her part of the deposit, and he's talking about paid spicy transactions. So they are not on the same page, like at all. And of course, you know, Charlie wants her piece of the deposit. So she does what any sane woman would do. She gets on her fucking knees. I truly don't know what I would do in that situation, to be completely honest with you. Part of me, while reading the book, is like, abso-fucking-lutely, if this man says kneel, I'm dropping to my knees so freaking fast, like caps would be shattered. Like, the other part of me is like, I would just be so flabbergasted that this man had the audacity to say such things to me. So I truly don't know what I would do in such situation. I want to say that I would do it, but I don't know, because Emerson is coming at this from a paid transaction point of view. He starts to praise her. That's a good girl. You look so beautiful on your knees. Praising her. Charlotte's Lady Bits. Love it. So as she's sitting there on her knees, Emerson walks up and, you know, he's like lifting her chin and he goes, so where did Garrett find you? And now Charlotte's really confused because she's like, who are you talking about? Who is Garrett and what is going on? Well, embarrassingly, they come to the conclusion that she is indeed her son's ex. She is just there for her part of the deposit, not to do spicy things with him. He asks, what was your part of the deposit? She's like, well, it was a $2,000 deposit. I want my half. I want $1,000. And he's like, okay. So he writes out the check and he goes, it would mean a lot if you wouldn't tell my son that this happened. So she does what any smart businesswoman would do. She basically asks him, how much is that worth? How much is my silence worth to you? Because, you know, Charlie's a little broke. Charlie wants to surprise her little sister with concert tickets. She just sees the dollar signs in that. So she's like, fuck it. This man's wiping his ass with hundreds. Fuck it. I'll get a little extra money out of him. So she says $250. And he's shocked. He's like, $250. So in her mind, she's like trying to figure out, is $250 too much? Was it too little? So he writes her the check. He hands it off to her. And on said check, you see a phone number, an SPC. And that's where we're gonna pause this story and back it up to 7 years in the past. Emerson Grant is sitting around a table with a bunch of his friends talking about a not so great spicy encounter that he had with a woman who did not like his dirty talk and decided to throw hands. She said, "'Twas not for me. Catch me outside. How about that?" Business partners, his friend Garrett, says it's bullshit that there isn't a way to match people up with the kinks that they like to do in the bedroom. Well, fast forward into the future, that's where they come into play. Charlie, being the curious cat that she is, decides to look up SPC. She realizes that this is a club for people with kinks, and it's basically like a safe zone for those who want to venture into the world of kink and they want a safe and respectful environment to play in. And lo and behold, at her job one day, Emerson Grant pops up with a job offer. Emerson uses this job, or uses her basically, as a way to get back in touch with his son. So he shows up at her roller rink or skating rink job and offers her a job as his secretary. And not the fun kind of secretary, okay? Not the sexcretary. Is that what we call it? Sexcretary? Whatever. Not the fun type. No, the appropriate, just does their job secretary. Which, I mean, after you do some research and you find out about SPC and you know that Emerson runs a spicy club, bro, I would be disappointed if he showed up and he was like, yeah, it's gonna be a regular secretary job. And I knew this man was running some kinky club. I would be so sad. Oh, so sex is off the table? Darn. What you come to find out about Emerson and Charlotte is that they very much have very flirty chemistry. While he's offering her a job, she does bring up the fact that she knows that he runs the Salacious Players Club. And she asks, do you pay women often for the needs that you have? And he says yes. And she's like, are a lot of your secretaries secretaries with benefits? And he says yes, a lot of them were. So she wants to know. She's like, you know, did I do a good job? Like when I kneeled for you, was it good? Did you vibe with what I was giving off? And my favorite quote of this whole fucking book was born. Miss Underwood, you looked exquisite on your knees. The moment I read that, I melted. I looked exquisite. Charlie takes the job, obviously. Like, come on. I would have taken the job. I would have said, yes, I will see you bright and early on Monday morning, my guy. Charlie is dressing to impress. She goes out and she buys a whole new wardrobe. She said, watch me snatch your daddy. Bo, you thought you were cheating? Boo-boo. You done messed with the wrong female because she's about to become your stepmommy. So while she's shopping for a whole new secretary outfit and secretary panties and secretary bra, she runs into Bosif with a new girl on his arm. But that's okay. That's okay. We're not mad. We're not mad about it. Because we gonna sleep with his daddy. We ain't mad. We just get even. I'm a fuck your dad. Monday morning, dressed to impress. New bra, new sheer blouse. So on day one, Emerson is giving her the ins and outs of this secretary job. Things that her job title will require. That first day is just teaching Charlie the ropes of being a secretary for a spicy club. As they go to the club, they check everything out. They're just, kind of getting their bearings. Soon, though, they start to find out that working together is a lot harder than they think, because all of their innocent touching and flirtatious little comments, it makes the work life complicated. It really starts to muddle what is appropriate and not appropriate in a workplace. Start building that type of bond, it's really hard to keep it professional. Weird. Emerson invites her to be his date for the club's grand opening. She accepts, because we all would accept. I would accept, let's not lie. Things just continue on throughout the book. Emerson is still doing such small little acts of cuteness and kindness. She walked in heels to go get him lunch one day, and he felt really bad because he didn't realize that her car wasn't working because she didn't tell him her car wasn't working. So he had her take off her heels and he rubbed her feet, which turned a little sexual. He fixed her car for her, offered to buy her a new one. He's just doing all of that normal boss stuff. We all have bosses that do that, right? We all have bosses that rub our feet and buy us clothes and fix our cars. just another Tuesday. Not HR nightmare stuff at all. It's been about a month and in book time, oh, good Lord, there's a hair on my face. Okay. In book time, it's been about a month and the club is having its grand opening. Obviously, Charlie looks stunning in the dress that Emerson bought for her. Emerson, of course, you know, could look good with a fucking paper sack on him. So he looks fire. They're sipping champagne, they're dancing, they're flirting. So because it's grand opening and it's the first time that Charlie's probably been in an environment like that, she goes a wandering. She goes behind the velvet ropes and she starts going room to room. She comes across what I assume is the voyeur room because she's watching people get it on. And Charlie is shocked that she is enjoying watching this as much as she is. And what perfect timing for Emerson to stroll in and watch her watch them. Oh, buddy. Oh, buddy. And does Emerson just know how to work a situation. Daddy Emerson shows Charlie how to scratch the itch that she's feeling downstairs. He says there is nothing to be ashamed of and grabs her hand, lifts up her dress, and helps her play DJ on herself. He helps her wiki wiki whack, wiki wiki woo herself while other people are doing it. And I was squirming. It is still hands down one of my favorite book scenes. And I've read a lot of books at this point. And that is still one of the scenes that lives rent-free right here. That night changed their whole ass dynamic. I feel like once you let your boss help you touch yourself, yeah, shit's gonna get a little weird at work. Charlie decides that she wants to take it up a notch. And so Emerson walks in that Monday to Charlie, kneeling with her eyes down on the ground, waiting for him. Emerson's taken aback by this, right? Because he's struggling with the fact that he wants Charlie, but it's his son's ex-girlfriend. So he also doesn't want to be a terrible father. At the end of the day, their pull for each other is too strong, and he goes, for this to work, I'm going to need to know your limits. Charlie, being the great secretary she is, already had that all together. She had gone online, done some research, printed out a sheet of kinks, and she put on a scale 0 to 5 how she would feel about certain acts. Paddling, 3. Caning, 2. Serving, 5. Isn't she a good submissive? Bondage, 3. Bootlicking, 0. Not that I blame her, but you know, we all have our own kinks, so we're not here to kink shame. Live your best life, people. But I gotta say, definitely not for me. Not what I'm into. Her first task, while being his sub secretary, is she has to kneel next to him without saying a single word, just to silently kneel, while he is on a call with his business partner. So while she's kneeling, she's having like mixed emotions. She's like, this is kind of degrading, but she really wants to please him, and she really wants to, you know, to show Emerson that she is in this and she is into it. And then she notices that during the meeting, he gets kind of tense. He kind of gestures for her to lay her head on his lap. So she does. And then he starts petting her. And then she sees the tension just wash away, and Emerson's body just begins to relax. And then she starts getting into it, and she realizes, you know what? I'm looking at this the wrong way. It's not degrading. It's actually exciting because nobody knows she's there. Nobody knows that she's kneeled in front of him. And so it's kind of kinky. Like, it's kind of like their dirty little secret. And she's there to help Emerson feel better. And that's what she's there. She loves to serve. She put that as a 5. Needless to say, her first day as a secretary went fucking fabulous. She's very much into it. Now, the next day is where it gets a little problematic. So Charlie and Emerson go to the club, and Emerson introduces her to an old employee of his. And Emerson's made it very clear that he, for the most part, has slept with almost all of his ex-secretaries. Charlie is not fucking happy. Charlie is not into meeting this girl. It's a no from her. She's very standoffish to Monica. That's her name. Her name's Monica. Emerson is not happy about that. Emerson basically leaves her to go talk business with Monica, or to catch up, or whatever the fuck they're doing. To kind of get back at him, Charlie is kind of messing around with some of the other guys that run the club with Emerson. They convince Charlie to put in a vibrating toy. Charlie is mad at Emerson, so instantly Charlie's like, bet. Well, it's remote controlled. So the boys start fucking with it, regretting her decision, regretting it. She's like, this sucks. Emerson is not pleased. He takes the remote control and then takes Charlie out to lunch with the remote control. So as a punishment for being rude to Monica and for spitefully flirting with his partner, he turns the toy on during lunch. And that's her punishment, is that she gets to be edged and finish at a restaurant in public where other people are at. My legs were crossed at this part, right? I am reading this and I'm like, so the next day, after Emerson and Charlie kind of cross into more sexual territory, Charlie comes in the next day to the office, and there is her worksheet where she wrote numbers next to certain acts, and the ones that were left blank, Emerson tells her she needs to fill those out because they're going to cross into that territory. He needs to make sure that she is actually consenting to those acts. Charlie kind of freaks out at that though, because Charlie feels like she's being really vulnerable with him by putting ratings next to these things, and he's not being vulnerable with her whatsoever. He basically walks up to her and he's like, what the fuck is your problem? Like, why are you so mad? She goes off. This quote is also top tier because she wants to know what he would rate those acts then. She's like, if I have to fill out this list, you have to fill out this list. So she's being a smartass. She's grabbing a pencil and paper and shoving it at him, and he replies, you want me to tell you that I want to taste you, Charlotte? Because I do. I want to touch you, tease you, fuck you, bend you over my knee, and turn your pretty little backside red. There is not one thing on that list I don't want to do with you. So you can put the paper and pen away, little girl. Every single thing would be a 5 from me. Every single thing would be a 5 from me. Shut the... When I tell you, I melted into a puddle of water. So obviously, after a statement like that, they're about ready to have their moment. And right as they're about to have their moment, right as they're about to kiss, guess who comes in and cockblocks? Yep, Bo comes in to ruin the fucking moment. As usual, we can count on Bo to just mess it up. Bo came because he wants his part of the check. And while Bo is there collecting his part of the deposit, Emerson is still struggling with the fact that he feels like he's being a bad dad. So Emerson suggests that Bo and Charlotte go out on a date. Yay! Just what we always wanted. My ex's dad, who I want to sleep with, to suggest that I go on a date with their son. Woo! Beau and Charlotte go on this unwanted fucking date. While on this date with Beau, realizes exactly why her and Beau didn't work out. Because Beau cannot grow up. He's still blaming everything on his dad. All of his, like literally, he blamed why he cheated on her on his dad. 2 + 2 is not equaling 4. That math is just not mathin'. Like, bro, that don't make sense. Charlotte's like, I will always love you, Beau, but you and I cannot get back together. She officially decides that she is done not being with Daddy Emerson, and she wants what she wants. She goes to that man's house. She knocks on this man's door. She tells him, I want you. And he goes, this just isn't right. Like, you need to be with my son. Like, you should not be with me. Like, I am the worst father if I do this. And she's like, I don't care. I don't want your kid. I want you. And he's like, okay, well, if we do this, we have to do this in secret. Like, no one can know we're together. She's like, deal. She's doing that classic thing where she's like, he'll fall in love with me and he'll change his mind and then we can be together. You know, that thing where you think that you're going to just magically give someone some real good kitty, and then all of a sudden they're gonna like fully want you. You know, we've all made that mistake. We've all done that before, right? Right? We've all been there. So Emerson and Charlotte finally have their moment. When I tell you, you might as well have called me the Little Mermaid, because I was swimming. I was just bumping to that rave that was happening downstairs. You know what I mean? Like, their moment happened and it was just euphoric. And of course, because they've now crossed into sexy vibes, things at that office get freaking wild. He has her come over and sit on his lap, and then he has her read his emails out loud while he touches her. Like, oh my Lanta. He has her sit in her bra and panties while doing desk work. Just, you know, just another normal day at the office. Just a typical Tuesday for us working women. Still throughout this, Emerson is trying to convince himself that he doesn't want any ties to Charlotte like that. He's still doing very boyfriend-esque things. Like, he showed up to her little sister's birthday party. He sat on the couch with her family and, like, watched a movie all together. He, like, slept over in her pool house. It's getting pretty intimate between them. Like, they're no longer just, like, doing it. Like, they're falling in love. You know what I mean? Just like all books, all TV shows, all movies, there has to be a conflict. You can already tell Emerson is showing signs that he does not plan that this relationship with Charlie is going to be long-term and endgame. Now we're starting to reach that point of the book where Charlie is ready to start claiming Emerson as her own, and she wants to come clean to Beau about the fact that they have a relationship together so that her and Emerson can be open about their relationship. And Emerson is just not there yet. He was like, you knew when we started doing this that we would have to keep it a secret. You knew I wasn't going to tell Beau. And so you can just see the writing on the wall that this relationship is starting to reach its end. They do what all great and smart characters do. They move past this conflict and just bury their heads in the sand. So, of course, one day at the office, she's his secretary. So, you know, they're fooling around with that remote control vibrator, and she puts it in, and then they go to lunch and they come back, and lo and behold, there's Beau. He wants to come by and kind of like hang out and talk about some good news. He got a job, things like that. So he goes inside. They all have a beer. Charlotte and Emerson are acting like there is no toy inside her body and that they aren't sleeping together behind Beau's back. Yep, just a normal Tuesday again at the job. Just a normal day at the office, guys. When Beau gets ready to leave, Beau picks up his keys and notices on the table that there is a remote control. And this isn't Beau's first time around the block, so he knows what that remote control's for. And shit hits the fan. Shit gets real. Emerson, trying to de-escalate the situation, is just like, Beau, it's not what you think, it's nothing. Which, to a girl who has issues with people leaving her and her feeling like she's not enough, was definitely not the right choice of words. Charlotte's done. The moment she heard that, she left. Emerson just confessed to his son that she's not enough, basically. And obviously, Emerson does what I feel like most people in that situation do. He realizes he done fucked up.
It was at this moment that he knew. He fucked up.
He backtracks. He texts Charlotte, I miss you. I'm sorry. I wasn't picking him over you. I know it felt that way. And like two very mature and grown adults that they are, they both decide to go to the club, and they decide that it is in their best interest to just have a good time. You know, find somebody else. To get over someone, you gotta get under somebody else, right? So that's what they decide to do. And well, Charlotte runs into Eden, that she has met a couple of times before at the club, and they start fooling around, right? They're making out, and Eden is kissing and sucking on some very intimate parts of Charlotte. And Emerson, being able to see this because they're doing it at one of the rooms in the club, is not happy about this whatsoever. He kicks Eden out of the room, and he basically looks at Charlotte and he's like, is this what you want to do? You want to fool around with other people? Well, you can't, because you're mine. And Charlotte's like, I'm not yours. You made that decision the moment you told frickin' Beau that we didn't mean anything. Emerson thinks that he's gonna be able to win her back with some sex. So he eats her like it's the Last Supper. And then she respectfully lets him know that that was not enough. And that's not gonna win her back. Fun fact, Jimmy, her non-existent dad, is pissed because one of the guys that works at his firm also happens to go to SPC. He happens to be a club member. And shockingly enough, he saw Jimmy's daughter being eaten out by none other than Emerson Grant. He's screaming and yelling and raging at her and making her just feel all types of bad about herself. So her little sister calls Emerson and practically begs for Emerson to come like save the day. So Emerson pulls up, flipping, raging. If you don't stop, I am going to bury you, right? He's threatening this dad. He is like, you don't know who the fuck you're messing with. Jimmy's still pissed, right? Jimmy don't give 2 craps about Emerson. Jimmy tells Emerson, obviously, that he's disgusting. He needs to learn to get somebody his own age, that he is just a sick man for owning a sex club. And you know who actually comes to Emerson's rescue? Beau. Beau comes in fucking clutch, right? Beau comes storming out. Hey, fuck you. We may have issues, but I love my dad. At least my dad showed up to stuff. At least my dad tried. He was like, you're just a shitty fucking dad. Which, I mean, round of applause to Beau. Just absolutely didn't see it coming. And I gotta say, he definitely won back some brownie points with that, because top notch, Beau. Way to go. Coming in clutch. So at the end of it, Beau does come around to the idea of the fact that Charlie and Emerson want to be together. In his words, quote, I still think it's fucking weird, end quote. He can tell that obviously his dad loves Charlie a lot. She's so much happier being with Emerson than she ever was being with Beau. All's well that ends well. They get back together. They have amazing makeup sex. They go back to their office shenanigans. Who doesn't want to work at a job that's located inside of your older, rich, hot boss's house? And he says things to you like, I'm gonna come down your throat. I mean, sign me up for that 9 to 5. Oh my Lanta. Well, that, guys, is the breakdown of one of my favorite books of this year, Praise. I hope you had a good time listening about this book as I had talking about it. Thank you guys for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you want to see more book binge and beauty blend, go ahead and drop a like. And then in the comments, let me know what book you think I should do next. And I hope to see you guys next time. Bye!